music sometimes is a reflection of, of life. That the reason why we as humans like music is because it appeals to our feelings, to our senses. Otherwise, it would mean nothing to us. And it is kind of a reflection in different ways of how we interpret music and how it is. And as I was thinking about that, I was thinking about my career and what the current problems that I had when I was swimming and trying to solve these problems, and that we're all different human beings. And it seems like in my job as in human resources, oftentimes what we run into, very few times do we run into bad actors. It's very seldom that I run across an employee that has ever set out to do anything intentionally wrong or to just be disruptive. It's usually because they're not the right fit. And I thought, but if we place them in the right place, like all of us in our lives, if we're in the right place at the right time, we can thrive. And that it's a little bit like music sometimes, in that some notes don't appear to go with other notes. And I thought about the song by Paul Simon called Frank Lloyd Wright. Maybe you're familiar with it. It's a song that I learned on the guitar when I was in college. And it's a simple tune. And if you played it in the major chords, and it's pretty simple song. And so it's so Frank Lloyd Wright, all the night we harmonized till dawn. You know, in work groups, and the way consultants come and tell us how to do things, they say, gosh, you should have a script. There's certain ways you should say things when you're talking to people. And yet it doesn't seem real or authentic. If you're given a group of people, in the ideal world, they would all fit that major chord. They would all be. Okay, all of you fit in that chord. And so as long as we have all of you in playing those notes, we're fine. We're going to be just fine. But then I called this thing Listen for the Ninth, because in music, anybody that knows anything about music, and if I know it, everybody knows it, but you have this note called the ninth. And we all know there's eight notes in an octave. So where does the ninth come in? Well, in this perfect world where we have all these people that are singing in harmony and perfect this, and then along comes a guy to your group, and you think, this guy is not going to work for us. And especially when you put it with, it's just not, no, that's not going to work. If we're in the HR world, lots of times, then the business manager will come in and say, they're just not working. They're disruptive or whatever the case may be. I mean, that just sounds awful, right? Because you have this beautiful chord and this guy comes in, and they're coming in and they're just disrupting the whole thing. On top of that, in the real world too, we might have somebody that comes in with yet another different note. Oh, that's not going to work either. So I got these two characters that are a work group. I got one that's a B and one that's an A flat in the perfect A chord. In the work group, that just isn't going to work, we think. But again, music can be a reflection of life and the way it is. And in life, things aren't perfect. And all of us are unique and have different strengths. And we can all make a contribution to this thing called life if put in the proper place and in the workplace. So when this thing I called Listen for the Ninth, I thought, what if we kind of repositioned this A flat note to an octave higher? And we played that ninth and turned this chord into this chord. turns this simple song of so long, great white, we turn into so long. Such a simple song into this beautiful array of chords. We played the ninths and the sevenths and those A flats that didn't sound like they belonged there. We just repositioned them. So if we listen for the ninth, we listen for that other person, and we put them in the position where they can succeed and use their strengths, we can actually make beautiful music together.
I think the analogy works so well in the context of HR and managing an organization, but I think it has a larger implication as well. There's so much dissonance in our society today, right?
Yes.
There's so much fighting and polarization and dissonance, and the reality is it doesn't need to be that way.
Correct.
That if we are able to tune our ears to hear the dissonance in a way that can make beautiful music, then we don't need to be at odds with one another. One thing that you said that really resonated with me as an HR professional, but I think works well in society, is starting from a place of believing people don't have bad intentions.
Correct.
Nobody sets out to screw up an organization or to be a jerk or to further exacerbate a situation. They set out to do the best they can. Oftentimes we're not hearing them in the right place in the chord.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think in the context of HR and organization that works, but I think that works more broadly in how we relate with people in society. And my hope is always that the church could have a positive role in that, where we can help people find their place in the chord so that it makes beautiful music, right?
Right.
The Apostle Paul talks about different gifts that people bring to faith and to their community. And he says there's teachers, and there's apostles, and there's preachers, and there's prophets, and each of us bring these different gifts, and it's a matter of how do we tune those gifts together in a way that we can make beautiful music.
Gosh,
right?
beautifully said.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with that. I think that if we did listen to others, listen for that ninth, appreciate those differences, and start from there with no malice intended,
Yeah.
that we would be so much better off.
Yeah. Starting from that space of grace, of recognizing that somebody has good intentions and not assuming the worst. And it's the other thing too. It's difficult to hold both anger and curiosity at the same time, right? And so if my curiosity about why that ninth is the way it is or how it would fit in that chord can be what I lead with, then I'm not going to move to a position of anger or polarization. I'm going to instead be able to lead with that curiosity. And that same curiosity is what brought you to the piano, to realize, hey, that ninth would fit in if we just move it here and if we shift this here. And so starting from a space of grace and a space of curiosity allows us to do that, I think, more effectively.